Darkness gathers over the heads of 4 kings. Perhaps it is war. Perhaps a war greater than that with Nilfgaard.
I suppose your excellency will now tell me what the future holds.
No, Witcher. I sense you will tell me.
Now, the best news for RPG fans these last several years was the release of The Witcher. If you haven't played it, it's a massively dark and incredible RPG from Poland that gave completionists like myself hundreds of hours of gameplay and some amazing dark themes. The Witcher 2 then blew all of our minds and not only had a beautiful story, but the most amazing visuals ever seen on a PC. Now, Witcher 3 is heading down the pipeline, and already RPG fans alike are salivating. Today, we are talking to the storywriter on the game. Can you please introduce yourself, sir?
Hello, my name is Jakub Szamalek, and I'm a storywriter for The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt.
Well, thank you so much for joining the show. We do appreciate it.
Oh, you're welcome. I'm glad to have the occasion to talk about the game with you.
All right, now what can we exactly expect for people who are coming new to the series, or new to the news of Witcher 3? What can we expect in this iteration of The Witcher and the continuation of Geralt's story?
Well, to put it shortly, we are trying to take what was best about The Witcher 1 and The Witcher 2 and expand on it and improve it and make The Witcher 3 the best of the series and a great experience. And at the same time, we are doing our best to make it approachable to people who haven't played The Witcher 1 and The Witcher 2, and at the same time keep information and interesting pieces and bits from the previous games to make our fans satisfied with what they get in the third installment of the game.
For those who are new, could you explain a little bit just the background of the story of this great fantasy that maybe a lot of people aren't aware of?
Okay, so the Witcher world was created by Andrzej Sapkowski, who's the foremost Eastern European fantasy writer. And the Witchers are a specially trained cast of warriors whose sole meaning and role in the world is to hunt monsters who ravage the lands of this world he invented. And children who are destined to be Witchers are subjected to a series of experiments and trials, which only few survive. During these trials, they acquire certain powers which allow them to hunt monsters more efficiently, but at the same time, they lose some of the aspects of humanity. So they're supposed to be less susceptible to emotions and be more efficient in combat. And in the Witcher games, you play as perhaps the most famous of Witchers, Geralt of Rivia. And in these games, you have the opportunity of being a Witcher and doing the Witcher's work, so hunting monsters and protecting the population of this fantasy land. And at the same time, you get entangled in political crises and have a chance to shape the political events and help or ignore the problems of the people you encounter. And what sets this world apart from other fantasy universes is that it's quite grim, and there are very few black or white moral choices, and you're usually somewhere in the middle trying to work out what's the best way, but usually it's about choosing the lesser evil.
You're a Witcher. You'd endure much.
You better believe it.
Worst case scenario, you'll suffer through it, go back to your cell, and tomorrow they'll publicly gut you, skin you, and hang you.
Personally, for the game, I absolutely love the fact that in the second game, depending on choices you made very early in the story, your playthrough could be drastically different from many other people who played the game, because there are these diverging paths. Considering that there's so many different options, especially at the very end of Witcher 2, where you had the chance to make a lot of decisions that unfortunately didn't really go everywhere. They kind of led narratively to the suggestion of more content. Considering that, what are you doing with Witcher 3 to ensure that our previous choices matter and they're considered?
That's something that we're still working on, and we will definitely include the option of transferring your saves and then your decisions from the previous game to the third one. But we're still debating the scale to which these decisions should impact your playthrough. What I can say is that definitely you will feel that your decisions were meaningful, but at the same time we'll keep the game open to newcomers. So the decisions that you made in The Witcher 2 won't be groundbreaking in the sense that they will exclude new players from fully understanding the background and the story we're about to tell.
The main story will be around 50 hours. That's the information we have so far, with other sites even sourcing that another 50 hours could be possible for side quests. Now, what are you doing to make sure that side quests in this iteration are even more engaging? And I know for a lot of completionists, the numbers are the things that matter.
Well, we are working on a huge game, as you said, which will be about 100 hours long, but could easily be longer if you are a player who likes to explore and check all the nooks and crannies in the game. So making such a huge game requires diversity and a lot of ideas, and we are fully aware of that. And one of our main goals is to make the quests you'll be playing unique and interesting and different. So we are working very hard to make sure that you'll be interested in what's happening and then you won't be tired with any particular style of playthrough or a particular quest structures. So we are working hard to make sure that all these quests are just fun and then you will never be bored while going through the game we create.
Don't I get a prize for winning?
Drank with a merchant recently. Weak-headed he was. Take his book.
Thanks.
So for the people who really want to make that 50 hours count, you're touting now that will never seem like a grind sort of thing. It'll all be an interesting content of the extra 50 hours that are possibly available and more, like you were saying.
That's our goal. And of course, there are some side quests which are more complex and some which are shorter, but we are definitely trying to make them as diverse as humanly possible, and this relates both to the content, to how you pick up this quest, to how you can complete them, and most of them also have one or two or more endings. So even if you're doing something that's not related to the main story arc, you can expect to be facing tough decisions which will have consequences in the future. So I think that all the side quests we're working on right now will be fun to play and will be interesting and will keep you wondering what will be the final outcome.
It really is the sort of game that I think a lot of RPG fans and perhaps fans who are just getting into it are really looking forward to, because the word density is something that I think describes the Witcher series so well. It's a game you can really lose yourself in. Speaking just, I know we're going to get off that, but I really love all the side quests in the other games. Are you trying to incorporate them so it does seem perhaps a little more organic and relating to the core story than perhaps some of the other the first or two iterations? Because I would say that would be one criticism, that sometimes you were sent out to do things that were interesting and fun, but perhaps didn't have the narrative weight that other opportunities had. Are you trying to make sure you bridge that gap sort of thing?
Yeah, so as you mentioned before, we are working on 50 major side quests, and some of them will relate to the main storyline. So you can complete the main storyline without ever picking them up, but if you do, you will learn more about the backstory, about some of the characters, gain a different perspective, and learn about the true motivations of particular characters. And there are some side quests which have little to do with the main story arc, and they simply allow you to experience something amazing or learn more about the world you are traversing. So it's basically up to the player. If he feels like he wants to know more about the people he encounters while playing the main story arc, the game will give him plenty of opportunities to do just that. And if at any point he feels, or he or she feels that it's good to have a moment of a break and do something unrelated and maybe lighter in tone or basically different, there will be opportunities to do that as well. So we are working on a balance which will make you feel that you are still connected to the main storyline, but will allow you to do something else for a while if you feel like it's the right moment to do so.
They say only evil can vanquish evil, but those are only legends. In truth, Geralt recovered the Witcher's secrets, and Vizima proclaimed him a hero. Yet life is no fairy tale. One story ends, another begins.
What are you doing to advance the already very sophisticated and adult themes that have been portrayed in the series? Are there any sort of examples that you could maybe bring now? I know it's still very early in development, but any narrative examples that would really show why The Witcher is a fantasy game that is apart from others in terms of the realism and the dark, gritty style that you take to story?
So I can assure you that we are keeping the adult theme of the previous installments of The Witcher, and then we'll be introducing that to The Witcher 3. So we are not afraid to tackle some difficult or controversial issues. So there will be quests or story arcs about racism or religious fanaticism, and we will cover these. But my favorite example, and something that sets The Witcher 3 apart from The Witcher 1 and The Witcher 2, is our main character's relationship with women. And I think we've done some good work evolving on these issues and making them even more mature in the sense that they are more realistic and demanding from the player. So in the previous game, The Witcher had an opportunity to meet certain women and then develop a romantic relationship with them. But basically, the player always had these options. So if you were in the right moment in the game, an opportunity arose, and then you could either ignore this opportunity or make use of it and delve into this subplot of romance. In The Witcher 3, such opportunities will only arise if you made good choices and if you tried to win your love interest's approval and you were basically acting in a nice way towards them. So if you meet someone that you fancy in the game, but you do not, you basically are not nice towards them or make some choices which are setting you in conflict with this person, you will not have the option of pursuing any romantic relationship here. So basically, it's more like real life that it's not like that every and each woman in the Witcher universe is happy to go on a date. You actually have to invest some time and effort to win the approval and interest of some women you meet in the game.
Well, those sort of circumstances where you need to reach base requirements be a large part of Witcher 3 in terms of accessing narrative content?
It's more about setting you on a particular course than closing or opening particular doors. So most of the story arcs and side quests are accessible no matter what happens and what decisions you make. But the possible outcome of these quests and their playthrough will be different. So depending on what you did in the previous parts of the game, the other subsequential parts may look entirely different, even if they are involving the same locations and the same NPCs. And a good example of that is that we are implementing 3 completely different playable epilogues. So depending on what you did throughout the game, you will see totally different endings with different stories and different consequences.
Really excited to hear about the actually pretty recent news about the options of epilogues in endings. It's really, ending epilogues. It's really something that I think harkens back to more classical RPGs that we don't see a lot of now. What information can you tell us about this sort of concept at this time? Because it is, when you think of a playable epilogue, you think of something that allows to have that catharsis with the choices you've made in the game, and then even leads to kind of permutations and options for the future. So what can you tell us about this amazing throwback to epilogues at the end of RPGs? Imagine that.
So here at CD Projekt Red, we believe that the core of the RPG experience is the choice. And this is what really matters about role-playing games, making the character do what he would have done and making tough decisions. And in The Witcher 3, by the very end of the game, you will have to make one final decision that will be, I think, extremely difficult and emotionally draining. And depending on what you decide, you'll have 3 different epilogues, and they differ not only in terms of locations or NPCs you will meet there, but also in the ambience and feel, because you can make a decision that will be lighter for Geralt, but more difficult for everybody else. And in this case, the epilogue you'll play will have a happier note. And then you can make a decision which will help others, but make Geralt personally feel extremely miserable. And then the epilogue will probably reflect that. So these 3 epilogues will allow you to feel the consequences of what you have done throughout the game, and try to realize what you've come to and what is the impact of what you've done.
I know it's not coming out for a while. A lot of what you seem to be talking about today is feedback and references to how players experience the second game. Are there examples of that where you've taken what players have said about the things they wanted to change in the first 2 games and incorporated that into Witcher 3?
Absolutely. So part of our development philosophy is to listen very closely to what our fans are saying. And so we not only read reviews of our games and listen to radio programs or watch TV shows which comment on them, but we also read fans' comments and comments which appear on the forum of our game, and we are making everything we can to make our fans satisfied with what they get in the third installment. And there's a few examples. I can't reveal all, obviously, but for example, we've noticed that people did not enjoy quick-time events in The Witcher 2, so I can say now there will be absolutely no quick-time events in The Witcher 3. We also heard comments that although the locations in The Witcher 2 were beautiful and they were fun to see and experience, they were a bit too small and they had a corridor-like feeling that you were never in a truly open space. So what we do in The Witcher 3 is that we are making it a huge open world with locations which are characterized by the same attention to detail, but will allow you to explore and feel you are in a real world where you can go wherever you want to go. So I can assure you that we're listening very closely and attentively to what is being said about our game, and we are trying to draw conclusions from that.
Absolutely. Beyond excited. Thank you so much for taking the time. Before we let you go, personally, and also in reference to the players, what do you think will be the most surprising thing for players who have loved the Witcher series when they finally get a chance to pick up the game and play?
The Witcher 3 will be a very exciting game in that it combines the open world feel with a very well crafted and deep storyline. So I doubt that. I personally don't think that anything to that scale and that effect has been done before. And I think players will be amazed at how well these 2 elements are combined, and by the fact that the experience they will have the opportunity to go through will be very different to what I've seen before. And I think that experiencing this epic, huge story in this huge world will be something that everybody should be looking forward to, and that will leave no one satisfied.
Well, thank you again for taking the time. We cannot wait for it. I know it's still very tentative, but when will we possibly be able to get our hands on this game?
Well, all I can say now is that it will likely be in 2014. But there's nothing more I can say at this point. So there's still a bit waiting ahead of us, but it's well worth it.
Well, thank you again for joining the show. Do appreciate you taking the time. Andy Borkowski here. VGS had the chance to talk all about Witcher 3. Keep watching for more.